Hi, this is Dr. MJ coming to you from beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. This is the Women in Dentistry podcast, where we feature women in dentistry making waves and leading the industry through the next decade. I am your host, Dr. Mary Jane Hanlon, a former dental assistant, dental hygienist, and now dentist. I'm very pleased to introduce you today to Ms. Barbara Nordquist. Barbara is the principal at Nordquist Advisors, LLC, an advisory firm that helps organizations partner effectively with dental schools in the dental educational channel to better meet their goals. This support can occur within the many areas of overlap between schools and companies, including sourcing, personal flow, continuing education support, and curricular change. A native of England, Barbara has spent over 35 years in dentistry, the last 30 years in the USA in positions of increasing responsibility focused on dental academic institutions. Prior to starting Nordquist Advisors, Barbara was Vice President, Academic and Professional Relations for Cavo Kerr, responsible for both the sales and support of all Envista company products into dental educational facilities, as well for enhancing the dental education process through the use of more effective and efficient tools that better integrate and facilitate student teaching and patient treatment. The products she managed range from Kerr consumables to Cavo equipment to digital imaging products of all types. During her time, sales to academic institution has grown tenfold. Barbara was the first non-dentist invited to participate in the ADIA Leadership Institute, graduating as a fellow in 2011 and named class president by her fellow classmates. The ADIA Leader Institute is a fast-track educational program for deanship candidates in dental schools. And in 2014, Barbara was named one of the top 25 women in dentistry. Dr. Barbara actively mentors at dental schools and within the industry. She has a passion for giving back and supporting individuals in all aspects of dentistry. Barbara supports the CF Charities, an organization that helps individuals in underserved communities develop the education experience to pursue careers in the dental industry. She builds teams and organizations and is unsurpassed when it comes to communication, professional relations, and creating partnerships with a keen understanding of the industry. Barbara has a passion for continuous improvement, diversity, and inclusion, and enjoys a good challenge. However, first and foremost comes her family, friends, and her appreciation for the people she works with and who have supported her throughout her career. It is now my pleasure to bring you to my interview with Ms. Barbara Nordquist. Barbara, I am so excited to at least share a couple of hours with you, because I know that's how much time it would take for us to get through a real conversation. But literally, I've been looking forward to our interview all day because you and I have known each other for quite some time. I find it absolutely wonderful to share time with you because you have so much passion around the industry and around what's good for the students and how to support our schools. So for that, I really wanted to start by saying thank you. So I'm really excited for you to be here today and would love for you to start by telling the audience about how you got into dentistry and why you're so passionate about it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to our channel, and also don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much.
Oh my goodness. Well, MJ, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really my pleasure. You've had so many great women on your podcast. I feel I'm honored, and thank you very much. How did I get started? Well, you know me, long story short, in my early years when I was at school, I wanted to go to nursing school for ophthalmology. In those days, which was a long time ago, you had 8 weeks where you traveled with an RN, and you had 8 weeks training, and then you went into your rotations. Last week, go with my RN. I'm really gung-ho. My father's really happy, and we had to give a shot right in the eye. I couldn't do it, and I said, "I'm so sorry, I can't do this." And they said, "You have to complete this. This is, a requirement." So couldn't do it. I didn't know what to do. I went home. I was scared to tell my father. I'm the daughter, I'm English, of course. I'm the daughter of a World War II veteran. My mother passed away. My sister and I were kind of running household things from the time we were 8. And so I was a little bit scared of Dad, you know, he was old school. And I thought, what can I do? And down the road from where we lived was a dental office, which had 4 practitioners, National Health Service, 4 practitioners. So I applied for the job, and I got the job because they were going to send you to college, to university. They were going to pay for it, and you work there hands-on and so on and so forth. So I thought, bingo. So I went home, told my dad, and that's how I started.
Wow.
I did my 3 years. They paid for it. I also had, you know, I had to subsidize, you know, so I sold Tupperware. And that's when I thought, oh, you know, I kind of like sales, you know, maybe this is going to be good for me. So that's how I got started in dentistry, in a National Health Service practice where, like you, I wanted to excel. I did anything and everything. We did domiciliary visits. We worked in the school. We worked in the hospital. We visited homes. You know, I just wanted to do absolutely everything. And I loved, the key was, I loved helping people. So I applied for dental school, but at that time I'd used 3 years, early years. And when I applied to the dental school in the city not far from us, the administration said, you know, who's going to employ you when you're like 28 or 30? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she's right. I better get on to something else. So they didn't accept me, and I was so disappointed because, you know, I always want to be Dr. Nordquist, you know, like if only I could be Dr. Nordquist. So with that, I thought, okay, well, I seem to like selling, so maybe, you know, I'll do something in sales. And so I applied for a couple of jobs. Bayer Dental was in England at the time. I was living in England at the time. Bayer Dental, I went for an interview, and because of my background, they employed me. And from there, you know, I am where I am today. It hasn't been easy, as you know. Women in dentistry, women in dental, women in sales, women in corporate, women in schools, education. It's never been easy for us. And so, but I was passionate. And also, you know, we didn't have much when we were young. My father gave me absolutely everything that he could, but it wasn't a lot. It was very small. Mm-hmm. So I wanted bigger and better things. And my siblings were so much smarter than me. So, and I hated school. I really did. I didn't like school. I was naughty. And I regretted that afterwards. So I decided that the only way I was going to get better is I have to teach myself. You know, I really have to teach myself. So, you know, get on the job, move forward. And I made mistakes. I mean, I said things and did things that I thought afterwards, oh my goodness, that's just not the right thing to say or do. But I learned by my mistakes, and you move on. So I worked for Bayer, and then a company in America asked me if, and I developed school programs in England. There's not many dental schools in England. I developed a great school program. I thought it was important, and I loved talking to the students and also talking to all of those, old faculty in those days. I'm going back to the 70s and 80s, by the way. And, you know, like with their slides on there, you know, that you put the slides, anyway. And it was just a challenge. So, and I was a little bit cheeky, young, inexperienced, I guess, but, you know, had a lot of energy.
And a great personality. So it took you far, I'm sure.
It was, I don't know where I got that from, because English people are generally conservative. So Colteen Wheldent asked me if I'd come over to the United States. And that was a big thing for me. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, again, back to my dad. How was I going to tell him I'm going to America? You know, he was always talking about, oh, you know, they stole our women in World War II and all of that jazz. So, you know, I had the conversation. I said, Dad, I'm going over to America for 2 years. Oh, well, you know, that was awful. So I came over to the United States, which was a big step and a scary step. And it was a different way of life for me. But I thought, you know, I have to do this because, you know, when I go back to England, having 2 years of being in the United States was awesome for me. It was a good move for me. I lived in Manhattan. Talk about being confident. I had zero confidence in Manhattan. You all spoke a different language. It was noisy. I had to go down to the subway. I didn't have a car because I lived in Manhattan. So I really struggled with that a little bit, but I thought, no, I'm going to do it. And you have to push forward. So I came to America. Of course, the rest is history. I've been here for 32 years, but.
So you never went back?
I never went back. My father was devastated. Not to live. I mean, I go back 2 or 3 times a year. But no, I never went back. They asked me to stay. I mean, at that time, we had 55 dental schools in the United States. And there were very few women in sales, marketing, or doing what I was doing. So a couple of things. It was when I would go to a school or speak to people, and I was English, it was a conversation where, why are you here? What are you doing here? You know, goodness. So I was green as grass. But again, I made a lot of mistakes, but learned by that. I mean, if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. And that's one big thing that I'd like to tell young people. Just go for it. You know, jump out of the box. If you have an idea, do not be afraid to say something. You know, I think maybe I got away with it because I was from another country or from England, you know, and I was a bit naughty and cheeky at the time. So I don't know.
At the time?
At the time, well, I thought I'd grown out of it, but maybe I haven't. But, you know, it's just, when I say that, I mean, just be bold and in the nicest possible way. Put forth your suggestions, you know, try and do it in a, you know, non-confrontational way, you know. I think that's, for me, how I've learned is because I've asked questions, I've listened, I've done things for people when it wasn't in my realm of responsibility or my job, but because I wanted to help someone, and jumped out of the box, do things for other people, and give back a little bit. Now, after all these years of learning, and there's still more to learn for sure, the biggest thing for me is to do things for people, to go the extra mile, to do those things and go to those places where you're not getting paid for it, or you don't have to do it, but you do it because it's the right thing to do.
And it might help somebody.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is to help someone. I always told my boys, make someone happy every day. Go on me, go buy a friend a cup of coffee, make someone smile. Do something every day to make someone smile. It could be just saying hello. It could be doing something bigger and better than that. But, you know, one of my mantras, my big thing is, you learn every day how not to be. And the opposite side, you learn every day how to be. If you're in school or in a dental office, or you're just starting up and you hear someone, you think, oh my goodness, if I ever say or do that, stop me. Or you see someone doing something quite simple, quite ordinary, and you think, I'm going to do that. That's something that I need to do. So those are a couple of things that I've lived by, you know. And also an aunt of mine, many years ago, she was a big corporate lady back in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, awesome. So you did have somebody in your family that you could look up to for that.
I did. A woman in business, was a secretary to start with, but became very, very big in ICI in England at that time. And she told me to, you know, never give up. Don't ever give up. Keep going. Be bold, but polite. But remember, she said to me, and I think it may be because of my situation, she said, there's only one person that's going to take care of you, and that's you. Now, we all know our mums and dads take care of their, I mean, you know, we do anything for our children, and the younger generation need to know that. But it's quite true, I think, for a woman as well, that you've got to go for it yourself. You've got to take care of yourself. And in the nicest kind, not being selfish, but you do have to do that. That was good advice.
Absolutely amazing. So you have worked for how many different companies in the United States? Because we've known each other through a couple, but certainly not all of them.
No, it sounds like a lot, but I've been working for a long time. So I came over here with Whale Dent, and Bernie Wiseman gave me the opportunity. So I have to make mention to him. He asked me to come over. He liked what I did, and he enabled me to get my green card. So I worked for him for 12 years. And then my next big company, I worked for Ultradent, and I learned a lot Ultradent from Dr. Fisher. Many of the audience may know Dr. Fisher. He was a dentist. He owned a company, a small company, but then he allowed me to be creative and do the things that I want to do that would help dental schools, dental education. And he allowed me to do that. I mean, he didn't give me everything I wanted, but he appreciated my thoughts and, you know, pushing to help dental schools. And he was a dentist. So that was nice to work for Ultradent. I'll always be appreciative of that. We lived in Utah at the time. And then I moved back to the East Coast because, you know, we moved to Utah. I moved back to the East Coast and worked for a company called Discus Dental for 5 years. They wanted me to develop a program for them. And I worked for them, and I, again, loved working for them. Very different company, work for the group and to help them to become better, to work with dental schools, to help dental schools, dental education in what they could do. And whilst I was working there, then Danaher, Cavo Kerr, Danaher, I was at an ADIA meeting and they came to me and they didn't have a school program. And I thought, wow, that's going to be pretty good. They have a lot of companies, could do a lot of good work, helping schools, education, and bringing corporations together. That was it was tough because it was a very big corporation. And generally I had worked with smaller companies, but I enjoyed it. And I hope I just finished with Danaher after 12, 13 years, had a wonderful time. I learned an awful lot from some very, very smart individuals, not many women, but very, very interesting. And I think that has taken me to my, you know, where I am today.
Which is, I am very excited to hear about your new venture. And I think the audience would love to hear about it too. So why don't you share with us what you're going to be doing next?
So thank you. I am excited. I am actually decided through a guy who I talked to on an aeroplane who was young, no one from the industry. I mentioned I was going to be leaving Danaher, Cavo Kerr, and Vista. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, you know, I'm going to find another job. And essentially I took early retirement, but I don't want to retire, of course. He said, oh, you know, do your own thing. So I did. I decided I think I have a lot to offer other companies, other corporations, and I'm doing a lot of eclectic work within the dental industry. I'm mentoring some people. I'm working with different companies. I'm in sales, marketing, but I'm also doing other creative work within the academic education mentoring arena. And I love it. And I don't know if I ever really go back to big corporations, but I work with them now. I can't mention who I'm working with because of non-disclosures, but I'm working with some terrific people, some terrific companies. And I think I've arrived at this place because I've always networked and talked to people who perhaps are not directly involved in what I do, but you do it because you're interested, and that takes you to a different place. So I would like to mention that my biggest thing is network. Don't be afraid, never give up, keep going. When you get knocked down, when something doesn't work, continue to network, just get back up, you know, move forward, talk to people, talk to anyone and everyone. If you're in a private practice, talk to your patients, because there might be something that happens with patients, you know, with things that they can do for you or you can do for them. If you're needing help, you should just talk to people. also, no, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Say, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? Because two things happen. One, if somebody says to me, Barbara, can you help me? I'm like so excited that I can help someone. It brings me so much joy. And I usually say, sure, what can I do? And, really what you should say is, yes, what do you need help with? And then you should say, but I'm, like so overwhelmed with the ask of help that I just say yes. So, ask people for help. Mm-hmm. We're always ready to help. I know, MJ, you are. I mean, if I came to you, can you help me? You'd say yes. And then you think, oh, well, what does she want now? So it's really asking for help, networking. Don't give up. Don't be afraid. And sometimes you do things that are not in your
wheelhouse. Yep.
So the wheelhouse, I like that. You see, that's modern language. So those are some of the things that I think have brought me to this place, which I've always loved my jobs. Wherever I have been, I have to tell everyone that I think I get up in the morning and it's not like, oh, I've got to work today. I don't think there's many times that I've thought that. Obviously a couple, but I get up and I think, I love working, and I love working in dentistry. I love working in the dental industry. I adore all of the new students that are coming on board. They're so smart and they're so great at what they do. So I really, really enjoy what I do. I could never, ever jump out of dentistry.
Well, your passion certainly speaks for itself, whether somebody can see you on video or not. That is for sure. You just exude passion. It's such a refreshing thing to see in a person in our industry. I have been so fortunate to meet some great people in my journey through academics, and you're certainly one of the favorites. So, I have enjoyed getting to know you over the years and the things you do for all of us in the world of academia. So I'm really thankful, very thankful that you have become such a great partner with all of us. So thank you for that.
Well, I love it. And, there are times in your life when you have big knocks, really big knocks. And, a few years ago, we lost our son. And if it was not for the dental industry, I say this with my hand on my heart, that if it wasn't for people in academia, the dental industry, my corporation, when I was working at the time, the people I worked with, that the dental industry gathers together and pulls together when somebody needs it. And I learned so much from that. I would not have been able to go on, I don't think. The dental industry, my younger son, Thomas, they pulled my husband and I through it. And obviously, we think about Alex every day, morning and night. But we were able to live through that because of this profession, because of this industry. And for that, whoever's listening to this, I thank you all for bringing myself and my husband and Thomas, my son, through that very, very, the very worst time of my life. Nothing ever will happen again that would even come close to losing our son, Alex. So for that, I have to give back. We have to give back. We have to help people in our industry because we were helped. And I think that's a big key to also. It's not the only key, but and that came only just 5 years ago. But still, it's something that is a huge, huge reminder to us all that we need to help one another, be kind to one another, and just do things for each other that the smallest things can help someone. And we mustn't forget that.
I think that during COVID, I recognized that one of the silver linings through all of this has been how amazing the industry has been in pulling together. The amount of free information that people passed along to each other just to make sure that we all had level footing to be on. And I have kind of equated COVID-19 to being in a constant earthquake where you're putting your hands in all the spigots of water coming up from the ground that just seem to keep popping up, and you just can't keep ahead of it because everything is changing so quickly. But never in my career have I seen the profession pull together as completely as during this past time. It's a wonderful thing to see. Absolutely wonderful thing to see.
Dentistry has been amazing in their comeback and their smart ideas and processes and programs. And also when the country here and in other countries too weren't really helping dentists, I don't think personally, just a personal opinion, as much as they could have done. And yet again, dentistry, the dental profession, they did not give up. They soldiered through. They've shared information. They've helped their patients. They've helped their staff. We've helped one another, I think. And you're absolutely right, MJ. We have come through this with shining colors, actually. And for the younger generation to know that this is the profession that they're getting into, and they'll have lifelong friends, helpers, mentors, that it is one of the very best professions that they could enter into at this time.
I agree with you 100%. I tell my students all the time not to worry, that this too shall pass. The AIDS epidemic was a huge crisis for us. It wasn't a pandemic, but it definitely was a crisis, and we all got through that. Then the collapse of the 2009 stock market.
Oh, yes.
We all made it through that. I think that there have been some trying times in the last 100 years, and we got through them all. So, this too is just another event that we all have to, soldier on. Like you said, I think that's a great terminology to use, but we do have to soldier on and just keep on going. Just put your blinders on and just keep putting one foot in front of the other every single day. Absolutely.
Exactly. Winston Churchill was the never, 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 ever, never give up. And I think the dental profession has done that at this time. We've not given up, and we've all helped one another. So, and we've never had anything like this. I do think though, MJ, that this pandemic, as hard as it's been, it's recalibrated us a little bit. There are things that we do and we don't do. And we've learned to manage our lives a little bit differently. And I'm not so sure it's not all bad.
No, it's great.
No, it's been great. And again, certainly in dentistry, when you see dentists, opening their doors and treating patients and finding every way that they can to be able to take care of patients. I mean, that's the passion, and they care because you have your group of patients wherever you live, whoever you're working with or for, your patients are like your family almost.
They certainly are. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
I think it's been a harsh time, but we've learned again, learning every day how to be, or learning every day how not to be.
Absolutely.
Is good.
So who has given you the best piece of advice in your career? Can you name anyone?
I've learned so much from so many people. My aunt, I told you, she was early stages when I was younger. When I first started with Bayer Dental, I can't say it's the best advice because I've had so many good gems along the way. I visited a dentist. We call them Misters in England, Mr. Robinson. I knock on his door. It's my second day on the job. I've got my briefcase. I've got a smart suit on. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to write a massive order because, I'm going to do really well. So I go in and, they're in houses, lots of big old Victorian houses in England. I go in and I knock on the Barbara from Bayer. It was a good ring to it. I go in. I said, oh, yes, Mr. Robinson will see you. So I go in the back where we always get a cup of tea, So I go in the back and Mr. Robinson comes in and I start on my really learnt spiel of what we're going to do. And he goes, put those things away. So I'm going to tell you something. bit of advice. He said, you know what? You can come here anytime you like. You can come in, pop in, have a cup of tea. He said, don't just come here when you need to sell something, when you need to reach a number, when the company, wants to get to that level of sales. He said, you just come here anytime. And I thought about that, and I've lived by that. I don't just go to a customer, a client, or see someone because I want something or I need something or my company wants me to do something. I used to go into that office, I wouldn't say every week, but very, very often, take cookies in and stuff. I love that guy. He had heaps of children. He was a good dentist. He was kind. He was good to his staff. And I learned from him. And I never, after that day, and I worked for a long time in the UK, went in with my briefcase or an order book or anything. I would just go in, and 9 times out of 10, I would come out and say, Barbara, we need something. And I learned to have a very good memory. Because I could, like a waitress can remember all of the things, that you order. So that was one really great piece of advice for me about not doing something because you need it. Do it because you want to do it. Who's made the biggest impact? I guess my father taught us from an early age to be loyal, to be kind, to do things for others. I think that my childhood was the biggest impact because we had to struggle. My sister and I had to run the family. I think that what my dad did for us, he gave us all he had, but he didn't have a lot. And I do believe my upbringing probably impacted me the most for all of those things, but to want a little bit more as well. I wanted to do more. I wanted a better job. I really wanted a good job. I wanted to do well. I wanted to be a professional. And usually in the 60s, women would just leave school and go work in a shop, get married, have children. There's nothing wrong with that, but I didn't want that. So I guess that process of having to do things ourselves when we were little, that made an impact. My first sales manager told me that, you have a job to do it, go for it, be dedicated, be passionate. That's where I learned my passion. So different people have taught me different things. And I think here in the United States, which, really is my family here, people like Mike Alfano, Stanley Bergman. I always listen to Stanley Bergman from Henry Schein. He's been in dental for a long time. He does all of the things that I've just mentioned. He gives back. He's got a big company, but he never forgets you. I'm amazed. I don't see him very often. He always remembers people's names. I don't know how he does it. I need to ask him that, actually. So many people have impacted my life. My children are the best thing that I've ever done in my life. Honestly, of course, we love our husbands, but for me, those children have been amazing. Like I said, Thomas now has carried us through. So he's grown into a fantastic young man. I hope I've had something to do with it, but I think his character has just shone through. I learn from him very often, every day. I learn something from him, even if it's how to work some kind of equipment that I can't use, my telephone or whatever. So many people, MJ, I think, there's a whole host of people, a lot of women in dentistry, in schools, yourself, Lily Garcia, Karen West, Marilyn Ward. I mean, there's so many women that I've admired because, I always wanted to be a dentist. So I admire you guys tremendously. I'm in awe of you. So many people, MJ. I couldn't put my finger on just one person.
Now, your passion portrays confidence, but we always know that it doesn't always go hand in hand. So I'm curious as to when you noticed that you were confident, and is this something that you learned over time or developed, or were you born that way? Because some women are born really confident, and I know it has something to do with their upbringing and their environment, but not necessarily. I would say the majority of women are not. So, in your case, what was it? What do you think contributed the most to your confidence?
So I'm not generally confident. I was a very active child, more so than my siblings. So I think there is something in your DNA if you use it, because it could be in your DNA and you don't use it. But I gained confidence by watching other people, learning other people, and that gave me confidence because, as I said before, I was not a good student at school. I mean, I think I was always coming home with Barbara needs to concentrate more and all of this jazz. So, but I love people so much, and I'm very social, even from an early age, that I would much rather talk to you in the classroom and find out what you're doing and learn from you than the teacher that's trying to teach me out of a book. So I'm really a student of life, I think. I had some of it in my DNA, and I had the passion because I wanted to kind of do better. I wanted to have nicer things when I was younger, and I really wanted to do well. So that came into it. And I think you learn it. I learned from a lot of people, from all of the people that I mentioned, from when I would come to your school. Lonnie Norris, Dean Norris he was the first person I met at Tufts, and he saw me wandering around the hallway, and he took me under his wing. He said, "You don't know where you're going." I said, "You're right. I have no idea where I'm going." And he took me around, and we became firm friends for a long time. But I learned from him.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that.
Wonderful man.
Well, super, super guy. I mean, we could spend 2 hours naming off super men and women in the industry that everybody should meet at some stage. So I think I wasn't a good student. I knew it. I felt I had to, get cracking and teach myself. I would listen to people, talk to people, ask questions. And I think I taught myself to be more confident. So, yeah, a little bit of DNA, a lot of listening, a lot of making mistakes, and
learning from them, right?
And learning from your mistakes. Don't ever be afraid to make a mistake. Ever, ever. All mistakes can be put right at the end of the day. And so, but again, it goes back to networking, talking to people, asking for help, being confident enough to ask for someone's help. It's so exhilarating when you talk to someone and then you become friends and things happen from that. So yeah, I think I taught myself to be confident, for sure. I taught myself.
Excellent. What is one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
Well, yes, I saw that. So I think they would be surprised that I wasn't as confident as they may think I am, that I don't like water. I hate water. I don't like water at all. I don't like heights. I am very scared of heights. So if you've ever been up the Eiffel Tower and you look down, I can't do that. I can't drive over a bridge where you can see the sides. I wind down the windows because in case I go over the edge and I have to jump in the water, which I hate, by the way. And so the strange thing is, though, I flew 110,000 miles last year, but I'm afraid of heights. But flying never, ever bothers me. But ask me to walk over a bridge and look down, oh my goodness, you'd think I was going bonkers, as we say in England. So yeah, I think they'd be surprised at that.
Absolutely. Can you recall an aha moment when you realized you were doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing?
Yes, I do believe that when I gave up my dream, my school dream. I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going into ophthalmology. And then when I realized that I was good at sales by working for Bayer Dental and doing very well, and also going into Birmingham Dental Hospital and talking to faculty, professors there, and that they were interested in what I could offer from Bayer and how I could help them and how I could bring them grant money and that sort of thing. I thought, this is how I'm going to help people. This is what I need to do. And so that was very early on in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. And then I realized I'm going to make a really special career out of working, taking care of a family, and helping other people. Because if I was helping schools, education, students, dentists, whatever, with the products that I was selling them to help their life and help their patients, I thought that's admirable. I can do that.
Absolutely. A personal motto or a mantra that you live by?
Well, I've said it before several times. My everyday, I really do. You learn every day how to be. You learn every day how not to be. My children, my nephews, nieces, anyone that I actually speak, I really do. That is my mantra. That's what I live by. You just got to, you learn every day. You see some amazing stuff, good and bad, every day. So that is my mantra, yeah.
Do you have a secret dream or a guilty pleasure that you want to share with the audience?
I've always wanted to be a dentist. I've always wanted to be Dr. Nordquist. I always wanted that for my father to be proud, for my family to be proud. We now have 2 doctors in our family, but yeah, that was my dream. I so wanted that, but in the aha moment, I felt that's gone away. So I am going to be the best that I can. I want to what I'm doing. So yeah, that's my secret.
So I'm going to share with you something that maybe you have never thought about before, but by you not doing that, you actually brought so much more joy to the world by doing what you do well.
Well, thank you. I think that too. I think if I had become a dentist, I would have stayed in England, and I wouldn't have met so many fabulous people in this country. I wouldn't have met Rob, my husband, had 2 children. It would have all been different. So kind of sliding doors. I agree with you, MJ, that, I'm not a dentist, but I could almost be. I'm almost a dentist.
You've been around us for such a long time. It probably has rubbed off, and you understand the processes just as well as any one of us, I'm sure.
I do, and I do love what I do. I'm very, very grateful. I feel I'm very, very lucky, even though we had the worst tragedy that I could ever have thought of and not wanted. I still think that we are lucky. We're very, very lucky, all of us.
Absolutely. Well, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much, Barbara, for your time. I am sure the audience has enjoyed our conversation just as much as I have, and learning more about you. Thank you for everything that you do, really. I know I said that early on in the show, but it is an amazing career that you've had, and I am so thankful that our paths have crossed, and that you've had a huge impact on Tufts. So thank you.
Well, likewise, you've been so kind to me and good to me, and I've learned a lot from you over the years. And anyone can call me at any time. If they need anything, I'll just say yes.
I'm trying to learn how to say no sometimes. I hope someday I get it, but I haven't been very good at that either. So
you're not. You always say yes.
Exactly. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much for listening to the Women in Dentistry podcast with Dr. MJ Hanlon. If you like our show and want to know more about us, check out our website, thewomenindentistry.com, or please leave us a review on iTunes.
Join us for our next episode as we bring you another amazing woman leading the way for the next generation.